Hello, I'm Teddy St. Holcomb. With me is who's with me, Pochee?
Ted Barnett.
Sweet. And Pochee, what is today's date?
December the 25th,
Yes, sir.
1922.
Nope, you're a little off on that one. It's 2022.
2022, right.
Yes, sir. And how old are you?
78.
And when were you born?
When was I born?
Yes, sir.
On September the 23rd, 1944.
Yes, sir. And when you were younger, where'd you live?
Where did I live?
Yes, sir.
Where did I not live? I was born in Andalusia, Alabama. From there, that was near Ott, Alabama, where most of my family was at the time. And then they migrated to Opelika, Alabama, and I spent a lot of my early youth there. And from there we moved to Atlanta. We was there for a year or two where I started kindergarten. And we moved from there to Birmingham, where I've always said I was probably brought up in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And who were you raised by? Who were your predominant figures in your life?
My uncle Frank Moore, he was brought up in Opelika, Alabama. He married my mother's sister, Ann, and they were my favorite in the family, probably.
Yes, sir.
And he went to high school there, played high school ball there in Opelika, and he went from there to Auburn and graduated at Auburn University.
Did he play football there?
No, he did in high school, but he didn't play ball there.
Yes, sir. And throughout you being in Birmingham, you living there, did you do any sports or anything like that?
Was I into sports?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I played youth football in Pratt City. My principal at the time, we lived in Brighton, and he had a gym that he ran over in Pratt City, Alabama. So he would carry me over there, and I played some youth football there, and youth baseball and youth basketball there. And from Brighton, we moved to Center Point, where I went to Irwin, what's known now as Irwin High School. And matter of fact, I was the first quarterback that ever played at Irwin. I was in the 8th grade. It went from the 1st grade to the 9th grade. I was in the 8th grade, and I was the first quarterback that ever played at Irwin High School.
That's awesome. So you're pretty good back in the day.
I was thought of as a good prospect in my youth. Yeah, I went from Irwin to Banks High School because at the time most everybody was running an offense, the older offense, and Banks was running the new offense, which was, the quarterback handed off Bobby Dodd's theory on football. And so that's why I went to Banks. And there I played football, basketball, baseball, ran a little bit of track.
Yes, sir.
That type of thing.
So you did just about everything.
I did.
Yes, sir.
I was able to, blessed enough to where I could, play just about any sport. Yeah, I love sports. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, we finished with high school. What was your next move after high school? What'd you do?
Well, unfortunately, I was not the kind of kid I should have been, and I decided that I wanted to go into the Marine Corps. So at 17, I went into the Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
And from there, went to boot camp, and ITR, and Camp Lejeune, and Paris Island boot camp. Got out of boot camp, went to Camp Pendleton, and from Camp Pendleton I was in the 7th Fleet, and we went and spent a lot of time, you know, overseas, Japan, most of the islands, Okinawa and all those. I was in Okinawa for quite a while, and just going through constant training and so forth. And then we came back to the United States, and because we were probably the most efficient at the time, because we had the overseas experience, we came back where they wanted us to go back, and at that time, that was the opening of the Vietnam War.
Yes, sir.
And so we went, they put us back on a ship, and we headed to Vietnam, not knowing where we were going. They didn't tell us where we were going. They just, I'll never forget, we left Hawaii. We got stopped off in Hawaii for 10 days. And then we boarded ship, and as we left Hawaii, after we got out of the international waters there, we had a muster on deck and all this stuff. The captain says, we're going to Vietnam, we're going to be in in conflict, and there's a lot of us that would never see American soil again, you know, because it was going to be a dangerous situation. So I happened to be on the first ship. Name of the ship I couldn't tell you. It was a APO ship, and we were the first ship that landed in Vietnam. It didn't land. We made a maneuver in Quy Nhon, South Vietnam, and we hit the beaches there, and from there I spent the next 13 months in the initial Marine Corps bunch that hit Vietnam.
Yes, sir. And so during this time, you know, the captain's telling you, hey, you may not make it back to American soil. Were you ever scared during this time?
Was I ever scared?
Yes, sir.
I don't think that I was. I never really, I was in a lot of different situations, but I never really had any fear, if that makes any sense.
Yes, sir.
It was all a new experience to me, and being at war was something I never thought I'd be in, although I was in the Marine Corps and we were combat ready. So, but no, I never had a lot of fear.
You're a brave man, and I know you have several different medals. You know, from your combat, 2 Purple Hearts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we had a couple of incidents where I was hit with small arm fire a couple of times, and thank God, you know, God miraculously pulled myself and a few others out of the situation. And but was I a hero? No, I don't think I was a hero, but I think the men around me was more important than I felt for me. So I was more concerned about the people around me than I was myself. So therefore, I knew I had to keep my mental capacity as best I could, and take care of those that were around me. And God, I hope I helped a lot of them, you know.
Yes, sir.
That's all I can tell you about that.
Hey, you have a wonderful story, Pochee. And you know, you get pulled from Vietnam, you come back home safe. And there's a story about a Bible that I heard, And I would love for you to tell me a little bit more about that.
In the last battle we were in, which is basically what I was referring to a moment ago, we were being overrun for the first time, we could actually see the enemy, and it was North Vietnamese, well-armed, well-equipped unit, and we were being overrun, and we were doing a retreat from our positions that we had landed in. And as we were doing the retreat, I was actually carrying a guy that was a friend of mine that was hit, J.R. McMahon, I'll never forget him. And he was hit pretty bad, and he didn't lose consciousness, but he had lost his will to survive. So I had no alternative but to pick him up and carry him out, and we were receiving a lot of small arms fire, mortars, and that type of thing, and I happened to, I'd been hit in my right thigh with small arms fire, so we were being overrun, and I had always carried a Bible in my pack. And so all I knew to do was, okay, this may be it. So I pulled the Bible out, and I was reciting Psalms 23, I believe. And all of a sudden, the firing stopped. I was able to pick up JR and go through the rice paddies. Every now and then there'd be a couple of small arms fire, and got to a landing zone where I laid JR down and tried to check on the rest of the guys, and next thing I know, I'm on a dead gum helicopter getting shipped out to wherever they sent me out, Yokosuka, Japan, I think, to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
From Vietnam, and that was the last of my experience in the military or conflict at that time. So from there, I went back to Camp Pendleton, and I was shipped from there to back to North Carolina, Wilmington, Camp Lejeune, where I spent the next 5 months that I was in the service. I was there, and from there I'd been in touch with some high school coaches, and wanted me to come and play ball for them if I was capable. So I spent the next 3 or 4 months working out and trying to get my strength back and all this type of thing, and went down and tried out with Bobby Freeman, the offensive coordinator at Auburn, and took my Uncle Frank with me down there at the tryout on a Saturday. And Saturday morning I had to meet him, and went out on the field and worked out for about probably 10 or 15 minutes with different throws and different agility drills and that type of thing. And he takes me to the office, calls Coach Jordan, and told him who I was. They were familiar with me, and I hadn't played ball in 4 or 5 years, but I signed with Auburn at that time. And you had asked me about the Bible. On July the 9th, I married at that time my wife Cheryl Standridge, and the very day of the wedding, couple of recruiting officers or whoever they were, they brought the Bible that I had pulled out of my pack. They brought that Bible. They had found it in the marsh of wherever in Vietnam, wherever I was, and the day I was married, they brought that Bible to my mama's home at that time in Center Point, and that gained national attention. It was in all the newspapers and things about the Bible being returned from where I'd lost it in Vietnam, which was a miraculous, I thought, miraculous thing at the time. Who would have known? But that's the story on that.
Yes, sir. And so you talk about your Auburn football. Can you talk a little bit more about that and the training and everything that you went through as far as being a college football player right after Vietnam?
Okay, I went in. I signed with Auburn, and I was due to get out the 24th of August, 1966. And because of Auburn's all your freshman recruiting class and all was to come in on the 18th, Senator Sparkman of Alabama got involved with it and actually got the Marine Corps to release me so that I would be in time, so that I could make the 18th of August where everybody, came in. So Senator Sparkman actually got involved and helped me be released from the Marine Corps, a couple of weeks early so I could, be there and go out at Auburn. As a position, I was a quarterback, and I'd been a quarterback since I was 10, 11 years old with every team that I'd played with, and I came in there feeling real good about the situation, and I thought I would do very well, but I wasn't a very good student. I wasn't in high school, and I sure wasn't at Auburn. Plus, I had gotten married during that time, which at the time, freshmen could not be, married and play ball.
Oh, wow.
So Auburn allowed me to come in and live off campus, and but it was kind of a discreet thing because of me being a freshman and being married and the story behind that. So it was a challenge. I thought I'd do very well, but because of the responsibility of now a wife at the time, and we were expecting a child, and so right after winter workout, after the season, freshman season, I got hurt during my freshman year, and that kind of negated the playing time there, which I'd done pretty well. But because of the responsibility and lack of, I wasn't prepared for college academically. I'd never prepared myself, which is a fault of mine. I just wanted to play ball. But
yes, sir.
I gave up that opportunity, and in my mind, okay, I'm gonna have a son. At that time, we didn't know what we'd have, but I just felt like it'd be a son. And so I owed that to at that time, my wife and my child that was to be born. He was born in March. I left Auburn in January or February of that year to go back to Birmingham and get a job and work and support my family. So as you go through life, you make choices, and I didn't prepare myself, which was a bad choice. I didn't prepare myself for marriage, which was a bad choice. So I went from there, and I just scratched my way from there to here. And in 1984, my wife at the time, Cheryl, we divorced after 18 years, and fortunately, the good Lord sent somebody in my life that did help me prepare from day to day. And to this day, I'm devoted to, and she's devoted to me, and that would be my wife. Now, Pam, which we've been together for about 40 years.
Yes, sir.
And I found out what a real person was, a real woman was, and so she's been by my side and taking care of me for the last 40 years. It takes somebody to take care of me. I can't take care of myself.
Oh, man.
But she's been the joy of my life, and she gave me not only her life, but I was fortunate enough that God allowed me to, she had 2 children, and God allowed me to help her raise these 2 boys, which they turned out to be great young men.
Yes, sir. So you had with Miss Cheryl, you had 3 children with, right? And what were their names?
3 children?
Yes, sir.
I had a son, Shane. That was the firstborn. He was the reason that I left Auburn, and mostly.
Yes, sir.
His name was Shane, and then I had a daughter named Sonny, and then I had another son, Teddy.
Yes, sir.
And each of them, in their own way, was phenomenal children growing up, and Shane, which I had the most impact on, made some much better choices than I did, thank God. And I lost him by an accident. And then my daughter, Sonny, she's the one that wanted to follow me around most of the time, and she's a phenomenal young lady, but unfortunately she makes a lot of wrong choices too. And then Teddy, the youngest one, he grew up, and at present he's out in California, still, even at his age, trying to do some character parts, bit parts in movies and things like that.
A lot of acting roles.
Do what?
Trying to get into the acting career.
Yeah, he's been in and out of acting, and he was a model for a while, and
yes, sir.
He's just he runs by his own ideals of life, I guess. You know, he's out there a little bit, but that's it.
Yes, sir. And so you have your kids and your wife, and throughout this time, I imagine you're going to different places, around the state. You're moving to different places, and you have different careers. What kind of careers, and where did you live at this time?
I went to work. I was in the insurance business for about 7 years, which I did pretty well there, and I left there so I could be closer to the family and not be out so much at night and away from the family. I went to work for Sears, which I worked for Sears for 7 years, and I left Sears with the opportunity of building. I got into the construction business, building homes and that type of thing, and I did that for quite a while. And then I got into the chemical business. We, as an entrepreneur, we developed quite a company there in the chemical business. And then I sold that out and got into a distributor in the meat business, and Pam and I developed quite a company there too, and did very well with the meat and selling meat, seafood, pork, and that type of thing, chicken. And and to this day, I'm still a little bit involved in that, even at my age. You know, I have to wait to when I'm physically able to go out there and run a couple of weeks, but you know, I can still do that. And but we're basically retired, and from Gadsden, Alabama, where we lived for about 30 years, Pam and I, raising these boys, and they wound up here in South Alabama, around Gulf Shores. And so we recently left Gadsden a couple of years ago and bought a home here in Loxley, Alabama, and we're here because of the children, my wife's boys that we reared. They're down this way and they're having children, and we wanted to be close to them. And not only that, I was blessed enough to have a grandson by my daughter. It's actually my great-grandson. Would that be right?
Great-grandson.
My great-grandson?
Yes, sir.
And his name is Zane, you know. And we were fortunate enough, he joined the Navy and was shipped to, out of boot camp, he comes to Pensacola, Alabama, which we had no idea that this was going to happen. But we were fortunate enough to be down here where we're only, you know, maybe an hour away from his base where he's going through training at the time, or now, and here in the next month or so, he'll be deployed to Japan, I believe. And
yes,
so we're fortunate enough to have a wonderful Christmas where he was here with us, and God bless him. And it may be, I may get to see him another time or two before he's deployed, but we're extremely proud of him and his achievements, and God bless him. And I just want him to be the best he can be every day and love the Lord.
Yes, sir.
And that's it.
And before I let you go, I do want to ask you one more question. If you were to tell yourself 30, 40, 50 years ago, one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
To get to know personally God and his son Jesus, and put God first in your life. And when it comes to that, wind the road of choices in life, confer with God, and God will show you the way. And when you go the wrong way, God will put you back on track. But number one, love God with all your heart and all your mind, and serve him as best you can at whatever position you're in. And always, when you meet somebody, try to let them know, without imposing on them, that you're a God-fearing man, and God is first in your life, and that needs to be first in everybody's life.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I've learned, because God will show up and show out.
Yes, sir.
Every time.
Pochee, correct.
Okay.
Give me a hug on that one. How about you?
I hope that was good.
That's it.
That was beautiful.
Huh?
That was beautiful.